My father had done this massive study when he was 22. My grandfather made his trip out west when he was 22. Now, at 22 years of age, I think about my place in life. What do I want to do? What do I want to say? As I think about my future, I look to the past. I was 4 years old when it happened.
Mr. Gorbachev. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Well, I hadn't traveled outside the United States other than to Canada, and I went halfway around the world. It was very exciting because we grew up hiding under our desks. Remember the duck and cover that we had to do in elementary school because we were all afraid that the Soviet Union was going to drop an atomic bomb on us. And in 1992, that was really the first time that it was possible to go to one of our adversaries and see what was happening. A Russian scientist over there that wanted to interact with somebody from the United States who knew something about solid waste, recycling, environment, but they didn't want to meet with a big company. They wanted to meet with like an individual, and so they asked me to write a little proposal about, why, I'd be a good guy to talk to our company, this political consulting firm. And so they read it, and they invited me to come over there, and I just wanted to, peek under the covers, see what it was really like. We had this image in our country that it was very wealthy over there, and they were a very powerful country, and when I got off the plane and was going to visit with the fellow who had invited me over there, it was like I was in Harlem. Everywhere I looked, it was just very modest conditions, poor conditions, what we would say in this country. And it was a third world country. And they showed me places where they disposed of waste. They would just acknowledge what a disaster it was. And we'd have nothing that was even remotely like that ever here in the United States. And they were just indiscriminate with how they managed waste. And they acknowledged how terrible it was and how they wanted to recycle more. They wanted to figure out a way of how to design landfills better and things like that. But it was shocking in a lot of respects. It was shocking how modestly they lived. It was shocking how they managed their environment so poorly with no regard whatsoever for human health, and environment, and safety. And yet at the same time, how incredibly bright they were and fully capable of doing exactly what we had done in this country. They just didn't have the same ethic. And as far as environmental problems, those are the biggest problems in the world probably to work on and to actually learn from some of the mistakes I think that we had made here in the United States, that we could actually do a better job. As soon as the wall came down, that all of a sudden we had our secret people and they had their secret people, and they started sharing back and forth information like crazy about technologies and trying to figure out how to work together. So it was exactly the opposite. There was no tension. It was more like, let's start working together. It was very hectic from the time you got up in the morning until well past midnight. You met lots and lots and lots of people. They wanted to meet you because Americans were very unusual. And for me, I was particularly unusual then because I was the president of a company. I had long hair and a beard, and I was a capitalist, and I was in the environmental business, which they just couldn't comprehend that. So everybody wanted to meet me everywhere I went, St. Petersburg, Moscow. Then I went to Orenburg, Russia, and Orsk. I was meeting with mayors, CEOs of companies, and I was just running a little environmental consulting firm, in America. But some places, I was literally probably the first American they'd ever met. We were all very excited. But, was I, at one point I thought it was just because I wasn't getting enough sleep that I felt this sort of emotional feeling about them, and I don't know what it was really, and it was the same for them. They were very excited to meet us, and it was very hard to leave. You know, you're having late night phone calls. They're calling you at 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, to have conversations. Plus, you've got your normal work to do, and your family. And so your family, you know, I wasn't doing a very good job at the time, and I knew it. I was very involved in what I was doing and not really doing a good job, you know, in home life.
Looking back on it now, I wonder if I ever forgave my father. As he traveled across Europe, my father would write the occasional postcard. I was far too young to read them, but I knew he was trying to reach out to me.
Russia did take a toll on me, and, you know, trying to do work there, do business there. And I'd been at it for about 3 years, plus doing my work in the U.S. And my mom, who lived in upstate New York, she always never understood why I lived in California and always wanted me to come back here. And when she died, you know, it's just sort of like everything sort of came together. You know, maybe I was ready for a life change. Maybe it was time to get back to my family and be with them and do less of my professional work. You know, it just doesn't matter what you do in an occupation. It's about being a dad. It's not fair.
My mother would always comment on how similar we were, right down to our very mannerisms. Because of our similarities, I felt like I already knew him already. We had that same drive to success and ambition. That same drive that would later lead me to take up track and field. The same sport my father had done when he was younger. My father followed me every step of the way, with his video camera. As I watched these videos he had made, I can see a change. He became more interested in my life and my aspirations to be successful. I would turn to look at him, staring at me through the lens. It was my father that had got me into filmmaking. When I was a junior in high school, I took my father's camera, and I never gave it back.